Welcome to Ask the Experts at the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce series to help business leaders grow their companies with practical advice and answers that you can implement right away. A special welcome to those watching remotely on Zoom as well. You're a valuable part of our audience today. And hello to watching the recording on YouTube. My name is Christy. I'm a facilitator with Rev Yellow, and I'm also a project manager with Lucas Engineering, and I'm honored to be your facilitator today. This is a free benefit for your chamber membership, and it couldn't be possible without the generous sponsorship of STCU. With us today is Sarah Hishlin. So sorry.
How did you know my last name? Good job. Hey, I just want to thank you all for coming. It's really our privilege at STCU to sponsor these events. And what a great panel. You know, there's a proverb that says a merry heart or a joyful heart is good like a medicine, and a crushed spirit makes you sick. And so one of our core principles at STCU is joyfulness, because we know and understand the importance of laughter and celebration in our places of work. So I'm excited to learn more today.
Thank you. Okay, so for approximately half of our 90 minutes together, our experts will be presenting their gold nuggets on the topic of fit to lead, building habits to promote wellness. And for the second half, they'll answer your questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, we'd encourage everyone to think of one question to ask the experts, whether you're virtual or here in the room. You can use the chat if you're watching virtually. And I'll be vetting the questions and then feeding them to the experts, getting to as many of them as possible in our time. Their contact information is also on promotional materials at the back of the room if you want to follow up. And now I'm excited to introduce our speakers today. So we have Jyoti Kahlon. She's a dedicated medical professional and founder and medical director of the Health First Urgent Care in Richland and Pasco since August 2020. Trained in emergency medicine at Michigan State University, Dr. Kahlon has worked at several institutions, including Sunnyside Community Hospital, Catholic Regional Medical Center, and Lourdes Medical Center. Her strong background and experience reflect her deep commitment to serving her community through healthcare. Joe Poston is the founder of Remedy Health and Wellness, offering direct primary care and wellness services like weight loss and hormone optimization in Tri-Cities with an experience in urgent care and primary care. Joe's previously served at Trios Urgent Care and Tri-Cities Community Health. At Portland Medical Center, he held roles including health supervisor and employee health supervisor, gaining diverse clinical experience. His healthcare career is complemented by his service in the U.S. Army and Army Reserve as an administrative specialist and medic. Dr. Paul Monie is joining us from Empowered Health Institute, a primary care office for patients 6 years and up. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Family Medicine with a dual board certification in sports medicine. Prior to working as a physician with his MPH, he worked on communicable disease outbreaks for the city of Portland and Nayarit, Mexico. I feel like I didn't say it correctly. Here we go. Okay, thank you. Talking to business leaders with empathy from failed careers as self-employed salvage diver, welder, and in the art industry and industrial kitchen worker. Melanie Olson is the TC Futures Center Director. She has over 20 years of experience in the field of human services with a focus on person-centered care. She holds a master's degree in education, counseling, and is a licensed behavioral health counselor, as well as a substance use disorders professional. Melanie is deeply committed to the improvement of the community and its residents. She served on various boards and committees and is excited to continue service through her role at TC Futures. Right. Excited. I'm going to turn it over to you. And Jyoti, I believe is going up first.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Just want to thank the Chamber for inviting me to speak here today. Thank you for coming to join and listen. This is an exciting time. It's a very nice opportunity to talk about a topic that affects just about everybody. Mental health. Globally, there's just seems to be just a mental health crisis for all various reasons, which we're not going to go into. And the hope today is really for you to, as business owners, leaders, and all the positions that you're in at your workplace, to be able to walk out of here with some tools and strategies and techniques to help reduce your stress so you can perform better and you can share that with your teammates and your colleagues. And this knowledge is transferable. This just doesn't remain just to you. Anybody that you interact with, you even take it home, right? It impacts all aspects of our lives, but our focus today is really just workplace, given the nature of where we are. So today the presentation is basically, like I said, an overview of strategies and tools that can help enhance your mood, just make you feel better. And also some of the ways that you can take these things back to your office, back to your workplace, and create a culture of promoting positive mental well-being. What is mental well-being? Right? There's a definite technical medical definition to it, but it's basically how we feel, right? It's how we feel, how we act, how we react to the world around us. And it's comprised of social, emotional, psychosocial elements. And it's never just steady. We never just feel one way. It goes up and down, sideways and upwards, depending on what's happening in our lives. Right? And why is it important? It's important for us, our personal growth, our personal development. It's important for our community. It's important for our colleagues. And it's important for the economic development. Anybody who's working anywhere or has anybody who's reporting to you, you know that if they're not at their best mentally, they're not performing at their best, right? So why is it important in the workplace? Because it impacts productivity. People who have poor mental health, they're absent from work more. Ultimately, it leads to poor relationship, maybe with colleagues, poor production, and poor overall business performance. But if we have, as leaders, as managers, as supervisors, some ways where we can improve our own mental well-being and also take that back, it can drive some positive outcomes and improve your workplace culture. And that's the hope. So what I'm really hoping for is that from what I am talking about, and obviously everybody else, all the other presenters will kind of let you know what their goals are, but I'm just hoping that from everything that I'm presenting, that you'll be able to walk out of here with one simple thing from everything that I'm saying and say, yep, I can utilize that in my own personal life, and that's made a difference. And that you'll be able to remember that as soon as you walk out of those doors, because sometimes we forget. We attend lectures and presentations because for many different reasons, but we just don't remember the message. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to utilize at least one thing that we have talked about here today. So this world is full of stress and pressure. We all have it. It's unavoidable. It's not a matter of if you'll encounter stress, right? You will, it's just a matter of when. So the goal here is to equip you with some strategies and tools that have been proven scientifically and physiologically, meaning that these things have a scientific basis for it to work to make you feel better. Okay. While we can't control a lot of the things around us, hopefully we can make some good choices, right? And not put ourselves in certain positions, right? You'll never catch me doing this. Yeah. No glamping or camping for me, certainly not in that order. So what I have here is a list of 6 principles, okay? There's a neurobiologist who's a professor of ophthalmology at Stanford University. It's one of the top schools in the country. And he has talked to many, many experts, done a lot of research, has done all the legwork. So these are not my ideas. This is something that's been proven with science, that there are 6 things that we need to take care of, and they directly impact our mental well-being. And the reason they do is because there's a biological aspect to taking care of our mental health. And the reason that happens is because there's a lot of chemicals. There's a lot of highways within our brain, if you will. There's pathways that are constantly being managed and regulated by chemicals. Norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, prolactin. You may have heard some of these things. Fancy names. You don't have to know anything about them. Just know that they're important. And this is something that happens within our bodies physiologically. And in order to keep them healthy and maintain them and regulate them, there are some things that need to happen. And these things that have been listed here, they have a direct impact on those neurotransmitters and how healthy they are, how well they're ready for you, because you use these chemicals to respond to the world. How well, how poorly you respond to something depends on these chemicals. So it would only make sense that we pay some attention to what will keep them healthy and regulated. So some of the things that are listed here are sleep, really important. I'm sure it's nothing groundbreaking for you. You've heard this 1,000 times. Every magazine that you've looked at, every Google article where you said, I'm feeling stressed, what do I do? Better food, all those things are true. So sleep is one. Exposure to light is another. Movement, exercise, nutrition, social connections, and stressors. We have Dr. Monie and Joe Poston who are going to cover some of these things, so I'm not going to go into detail with reviewing sleep, because Dr. Monie is going to give you in-depth presentation on that. But it is critical. He will go over what that is. But I will talk about light. Harnessing the power of light. What do I mean by that? I simply mean that we as people need exposure to sunlight, to just pure sunlight. As soon as you wake up, soon after you wake up, you should try and go outside as quickly as possible. Not through your window, not through the sunglasses, not through the windshield of your car. Physically, look at the sunlight as the sun is coming up. It's soft light. There are cells in the eyes that respond directly to sunlight that make you feel calmer, make you more focused, make you more alert. They affect your nighttime sleep. So exposure to light is critical. So if you were to get up every morning, go outside for 10 minutes and look at that sun as it's coming up without burning the retinas. Please understand, this is not to mean that you should stare at the sun. That is not healthy. You will damage your eyes. But just as the sun is coming up, the light is very soft. But if it's really strong, you can turn a little bit. But the idea is that just go out 10 minutes when it's fully sunny day outside, 10 minutes of sun exposure every single day. You should do this every single day for it to be effective, for it to be healthy. Now, I know everyone here in this room and those who are on Zoom, we all have things. We have commitments, we have families, pets, other social obligations, work obligations. This is not meant to be that you have another to-do thing on your list. If you can, this will be really, really beneficial. You should really strive to do this once a day. Morning, afternoon, try to get out, get that 10 minutes of sun. Even on a cloudy day, the sun is there. When it's cloudy, you should get about 20 to 30 minutes of sun, direct sunlight, no sunglasses, not through any windows, not through any windshields, because they are designed to filter the light, so it won't have the same effect. Eyeglasses are okay, as long as they're not filtering the light, right? So do that. If you have little kids and you say, oh, I can't go out with my kid, the baby's here, take the baby out. Take your kids out, let them be exposed to light. What this does, it resets our circadian rhythm, which needs to happen every 24 hours. So this is something that you ought to do every single day if you can, as much as possible, without stressing yourself more. If for some reason you have no exposure to light, you can also use what's called the SAD lamps. And those are seasonal affective disorder, where people start to feel low mood, they're not as cheery, they're not as energetic when it's fall and there's not a lot of sunlight. And those lamps have proven to elevate your mood, to make you feel better. And they need to be roughly around 10,000 lux. So there's a unit number. You can look at that. They can be kind of expensive. So sunlight is free if you can. If you can't, there's no option for you to expose yourself to sunlight. And certainly those lamps come in handy. Okay, so there are tremendous benefits to mental health for just exposing yourself to sunlight. Okay, so that's exposing yourself to light. There's also benefit of exposing yourself to darkness, and that's what sleep should do. It should reset everything for having 6 to 8 or 9 hours of sleep. So just as important it is to be exposed to light, it's equally important to have that time when you're not exposed to light, not even a little bit. Your cell phone shouldn't be up. You shouldn't have that strip lighting in the room just for ambiance. Turn it all off. What they've said is, what the science has shown is that when your sleep is disturbed, your metabolic system is disturbed, your blood sugar is off, your health is at risk. So keep that in mind. Nutrition, you've heard that plenty of times. I'll keep this just very, very simple. Anything that has a long shelf life, it's in a packet, it's in a jar, it's been there for months, it doesn't expire for 3 years. It's not good for you. I know everybody knows that. So try to eat things that have a shorter shelf life. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Which brings me to social connections. So we have last year in 2023, the Surgeon General had put out this a notice of that there's this almost public health crisis. There's so much loneliness, isolation in our country, right? We don't have as many interactions with other human beings. And that's a direct impact on our physical health. People are at a greater risk for heart attacks, strokes, dementia, premature death, right? So social interactions are so, so important. We are social creatures, even introverted like me. I need about 2 good social interactions a year and I'm good for the year, right? And some people need 20 of those every single day. The thing to remember is we need that from other people. And what it's doing is interacting with others, it resets our autonomic system. These neurotransmitters that I was talking about, those big words, serotonin and dopamine, these things that make us feel better, give us more energy. There's internal things that are happening to regulate those transmitters, but there's also external things that help regulate those. And that's our interaction. That's me talking to Melanie, me talking with somebody who I have good conversations with, and it'll help regulate those things. One thing that you can do, and I would ask you, challenge you to pay closer attention to is, and it's really important, is how those interactions end up leaving you. Are they taxing you, making you feel drained, stressed, not as happy, more worried, or are they what they call is, some psychologists have called it net saving, where you end up feeling happier, calmer, better, and you want to invest on those social interactions. And the net savings isn't just when I'm talking with Melanie. When I'm here, I feel really good. She makes me feel so good. Oh, what a nice person. It's so nice. It's also when I'm not here, I walk away and I still feel better. I still have better mood. I'm still more capable of dealing with stress. That is your net savings. So what I would say is, think about, right now, think about some people, groups of people that are leaving you taxed, or they're leaving you with net savings. Tax people, you're just constantly having this sort of internal dialogue in your head. Oh, I should have said this, I could have said this, and there's just this conflict in your head, and you're just caught up in that. And that savings is, you're still going to bat and you're feeling great, you're at work, you had this great conversation last week, it was so good, and you're still feeling good as a result of this. So those are these social interactions where you need to maybe invest a little bit more time in. Now, that's not to say you gotta throw some lavish party and every weekend you have to go and do whatever. But it is something that is so crucial to our well-being because of who we are, because of what it's doing internally, biologically for us. So this is one area where I would say personally, I have found great benefit. Having gone through school, med school, training, another 10, 15 years of just working, so busy with having 3 kids at home, husband, career, didn't have time for these net saving interactions until 2 years ago. Became part of this group of professional women. It's the best thing I've ever done. They're so uplifting, they're so positive. Every time I see them, it's just net savings for me. I'm just cashing in the bank, I'm just saving. So when I have stressful days at work, or at home, or in relationships, or there's enough reserve for me to take from, that, yeah, I have enough to deal with in a good, healthy way without feeling too much stress. And I hope that makes sense. That's the idea. While we can't always control how much stress we have, there are moments like public speaking. We need some strategy. We need some real-time tools to deal with stress. I was doing this in my car. There are some things that you can do very quickly to relieve your stress. And one of the things that I have done myself with my kids, they kind of look at me and say, what are you doing? And I'll demonstrate what I mean. It's called a physiological sigh. We all do it all day. You've heard people do it. You've done it, maybe not realized. I've seen little kids do it. And it is not anything new. It's something that's been around forever. We're just talking about it a little bit more. So if you ever seen a little kid, like 3, 4-year-old, and they're crying and this crying fit, and they can't stop crying, they can't catch their breath, and all of a sudden, this is what they do. They kind of take these quick breaths. Why do they do that? The stress is so high. They're trying to lower their stress. So we as adults can do the same thing, but I'm not going to demonstrate crying like I did when I was 4 years old. But what needs to happen is you sit, stand, whatever's comfortable, and you're going to take a deep breath in, all the way in. And just when you think you can't take any a breath any deeper, you're going to inhale once more. So second breath is really important, and it's through your nose. And once you've done it, then you're going to slowly, completely breathe out through your mouth. So it's like this. Twice. Breathing in twice, exhaling once through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. I'm sure some of you have heard that in yoga, etc. So that's how that's done. What's that doing is it's restoring your oxygen and your carbon dioxide levels. And immediately you'll feel this release of stress. And you only have to do it once, and you'll feel a great relief of stress, just immediately leaving your body. You can do it more, but even once, doing it once effectively can reduce your stress level. Okay, so please try that. My kid thought I was weird. I was doing that in the car one day. She goes, Mom, are you crying? And I said, no, I'm just doing my physiological sigh. And it's very helpful. The other thing, and I know in 2 minutes, I have 2 minutes left. The other thing that we can do, while we can't control the stress levels in our lives, how can we increase our capacity to handle stress? Right? We want to increase that threshold. So there are other ways, but one of the ways, and it's quick and easy and maybe a little uncomfortable for some people, is to create a situation where you're in a stressful situation, but then also being able to relax and calm your mind, bring yourself into focus. And you can do that by putting yourself in a cold shower for 1 minute. Okay, and the reason it works is it's cold. In the first 10-15 seconds, you're very uncomfortable, your endorphins go up, you're stressed, and your body's saying, I don't like this. And then you have to, it's a practice, and you practice calming your mind, bringing everything into focus and say, I'm gonna deal with this for the next 40 seconds, and then I'm gonna turn it off. And it makes you more resilient. It's supposed to give you higher capacity to deal with stress by creating mental toughness. Now, please don't hurt yourselves. Please don't go home and, be uncomfortable. But if you want to try it in a safe way, definitely it's worth doing. So those are some of the ways where you can do some of those things to release your stress, to increase your capacity to handle just life, the way you react, the way you handle just things, how poorly or well you react is all coming from here. So the better control we have over our mind by doing these things, the better chance you'll have at dealing with stress around you. And you can take these things back to work on yourself, and you can definitely share this with your team and your colleagues and anybody that you're supervising. There's few other things that I wanted to cover. I'll just go through it really quick, in just 1 minute. For your teams, once you're in a good mental place, these are the things that I think can really help you. And I'm just going to run down this. Create psychological safety for your team members, right? No punishment, no humiliation for asking the wrong questions, for doing a job that wasn't done well, for making mistakes. You can be ruthless on the issue. Hey, we can't compromise on this, but you can be kind on the person. You can be compassionate, caring, supportive to your team members. They'll appreciate that. They'll work harder, they'll do better, knowing that they work for somebody, their supervisor or their colleague, that they can work with somebody who's just a good person, who's just caring. You want to engage with the most disengaged person in your team. Your culture is only as good as the least disengaged person. So you want to reach out to them. Hey, Joe, sorry, Joe, don't mean to pick on you. Are you okay? Yeah, sure, I'm okay. Ask again. If they said yes the first time, they may not be completely willing to divulge what's going on with them. Well, I've noticed that you've been down lately. You just don't look like yourself. Oh, well, this is what's happening in my life. So ask twice, listen 80% of the time. If you listen 80% of the time, you don't have to do much thinking. You just know what to do. Okay. Make your expectations clear. Clear is to be kind. If you have a good sense of humor, use your sense of humor. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, my email is there. Please feel free to email me, and you can certainly come and ask me any questions afterwards. Thank you.
All right, are we okay to stand up and walk about? Okay. Walk about. So what comes to mind when we hear the word health? Anything? This is interactive. I'm gonna start calling on you. Body health, fitness.
Medical.
Okay, all right. So what was that last one out there? Hospital, okay,
Medical.
medical, okay, nutrition, right, okay. Some of these things, you know, are what we, you know, this word gets thrown around a lot, right? Health, remedy, health and wellness, well, what does that even mean? You know, so it kind of is, turns into a little bit of life science. So what the world has told us health is, all these things have one thing in common, you know, about the people throughout, like longevity, living my best life, things like this. These are destinations, they're not real, you know, these are outcomes, these aren't some sort of process, right? So what we've forgotten about, in my opinion, with health is this process or journey. And, you know, I'm gonna kind of compare it to what you guys talk about with, you know, who leads a team in here? Okay, so you guys will understand what I'm talking about, okay? So don't get so fixated on the results or the outcome, especially day one, when you start to make changes in your health. It's just gonna, you're setting yourself up for failure. Think about the day-to-day process, okay? And what that might look for you. It's very individualized, but it's intentional. You got a plan for success, right? And how you do in your businesses. So this is a quote or a definition I like. Health is more than just the absence of illness. It is the capacity and desire to intentionally and consistently behave at a level equal to your potential over time. True health addresses all pieces of your health puzzle, integrating physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. This holistic approach ensures that each aspect of your health are optimized, contributing to your overall performance and longevity. So it's consistent. You're never gonna get there. You're just gonna keep working at it, okay? So you think your job's stressful? Try this if I can jump. Yeah, so reasons why, I'm gonna go over 3 reasons why your health may fail, okay? In my opinion, because I started 2 businesses too, and I know what it's like. So, a lot of us are professional problem solvers, right? How can I make this better for fill in the blank? You know, you got a team that you're responsible for, you got customers, you've got, you know, your family at home, right? Who else depends on you, you know what I mean? You're overreaching all the time, stressed all the time. So this constant state of overreaching leads to chronic stress, burnout. Chronic stress leads to chronic deficiencies lead to chronic symptoms leads to disease states, and then you're in our office telling us, I got headaches. They just won't go away. I'm nervous, I can't sleep, I've got, you know, fill in the blank, I'm bloated. So. Can't stop eating at night, this is how I cope. I'm so stressed out, this is my downtime, this is how I deal with my problem. So the other reason it fails is we fail to recognize our habits that we consider. All of a sudden, this is your normal, you are actually dysfunctional. This is how you are dealing with life, is your downtime might be, and you could fill it in with TV, with fast food, with, you know, whatever else takes your brain away from what's going on in life. But this is not a disease, it might be disease-free, you don't have any diagnoses. We haven't told you have anything yet, but it's symptom-full. You're not well, you're not doing good. So the longer we stay in this dysfunctional stress, the more symptoms we have until we are in a disease state. And chronic disease state is the #1 leading cause of death. So number 3, so, you know, I've always looked at doctors that were a little bit bigger, and I'm like, okay, I know I need to lose a little bit too, but you know, I shouldn't judge. It's hard to look past sometimes when they're telling you you can lose weight, right? But I digress, so that's why I put that one up there. So we gotta do it too. We're leading teams. We're leading patients. We're telling them how to live. What if I go home and I just lay on the couch and, you know, drink soda and buy a pizza. You know, it's not, I gotta live it too if I'm gonna tell other people how to do this. So we built to protect your asset. So you have these systems in place to protect your assets at work, but you have nothing in place protecting your health. So with us, we've got systems in place to protect us. Right, HIPAA. You know, what else do we have? Anything else? HIPAA's a big one. What's that? OSHA. You know, so these are things that are written down, they're planned out. This is how we are not gonna fail, but we don't do, but we don't do that with our own lives for some reason. We just kind of don't plan for success. But it could be unhealthy diet, no exercise, high stress, poor coping mechanisms, relationship problems. And if we don't address those, things just get worse in your personal life and everything else, so. So what do you do about it? You just get a massage once a week, I'm good, I feel better, I feel a little bit better. Vacation once a year. Okay, I got, oh, that's Panama City Beach, Florida, by the way, the best sand in the world. Okay, all right. So vacation once a year, you're sick, so you take just a few extra days off of work, whatever it might be. Is that a really good system to put in place? It's really not, right? So what do we gotta do? Health is the capacity and desire to intentionally and consistently develop habit systems over time so that the outcome you desire is inevitable. So if you don't plan for it, you're not gonna have your desired outcome. You know, we've got really great medications these days that can lower your blood pressure, but if the patient doesn't change their lifestyle habits, you know, all of a sudden their legs are swelling and, you know, we give them another pill to take care of the swelling and it's just this constant thing, nothing changes, right?
That was the physiological side, by the way.
What's that?
I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we all desire the outcome, help to be healthy, longevity, best version of ourselves, well-being, but consistent habit changing plans or have not been put up in place. KPI, what's KPI?
Key performance indicator.
Oh, you got performance indicators. You have key performance, what do you do?
I'm a CPA,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
so you got
lots of
KPI,
KPIs.
KPI for your staff and everything?
That, and then I prepare them for clients as well.
Oh,
for
okay.
businesses.
Yeah, okay. So KPI, that's something you guys are all familiar with, so you guys can figure out what your own KPI might be, and if it needs tweaked and worked once in a while, that's okay, you're never gonna get there, but just keep working at different key performance indicators. Whether it's your mental health or sleep or whatever it might be. SMART goal, I always like the acronym, military's heavy on acronyms, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based, goals. Okay, so for, you know, owning a business slash, you know, other indicators just for health people. Some of ours might be daily census. Hey, did we see any patients today? Did anybody want to come see us? Retention rates, are patients dropping out? That, like, why are they dropping out? Why don't we like them? Why don't they want to come back to us? And I'll put deodorant on that day. What happened? Are they health rates? Is most of our patients, when we're starting to see this more and more in healthcare, where they want to see these things, blood pressures are controlled, they're getting this medicine or that. Are our patients losing weight, and comorbidities, are they controlled as well? So, I mean, we all have these KPIs, right? You have staff performance KPIs, systems in place, but first, you know, you get the idea. If we don't have this for our own self, we're kind of missing the mark. Okay, so KPI for health, some of them are super easily measured. How often do you exercise? Are you getting your sleep? Do you engage in work activities after 7? I really like that one. You know, a lot of people will still be sending that, I gotta send that email, and you know, here's maybe your family where you should be focusing your attention or something, and you're still sending those emails. You gotta shut that off, and you gotta do it consistently. And set up those barriers with your people that depend on you and be like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't respond to your email. But after 7 o'clock, I have just a couple hours with my family before bed, and they'll probably respect you more anyway. Healthcare, cardiometabolic factors, markers, deficiencies, vital signs, those are all pretty commonplace. Some of us check more of those things than traditional healthcare, but some really interesting ones that have come out in the last couple of years are heart rate variability and VO2 max. Anybody familiar with those? Okay. So heart rate variability, so that's why I spent more time on. So your autonomic nervous system's going down, it innervates your heart, it innervates in the vagus nerve, comes down and innervates your gut. So these autonomic systems, it's, you know, you have these firings going off from your brain, right? Stress firings, fire. It also goes down and it can cause problems with your gut, it can cause problems with heart rate variability as well. So if you have an increasing heart rate variability, greater adaptation to stress, okay? Versus a lower adaptation to stress. So this is why we wanted to do a giveaway. We have super cool gadgets these days. Of course, we're not, hey, I don't get paid by Aura Ring, but we're doing a drawing for an Aura Ring, okay? So it can kind of, I can't sleep with a watch, but I think I could sleep with an Aura Ring. But anyway, that could help. But it tracks heart rate variability, and there's, you know, if you look up, there's plenty of peer-reviewed articles regarding it, okay? Just believe me. So better adaptation with a higher heart rate variability. But if it's a lower heart rate variability, it's an indication that you're struggling to handle stress. It could be mental stress, emotional stress, physical stress, you know, all those things, okay? How to improve heart rate variability? Exercise, and these are evidence-based as well. Prioritize your sleep and recovery, practice mindfulness, and manage stress effectively. It's a very, very important one. VO2 max measures maximum amount of oxygen your body can utilize during intense exercise. So you're either more efficient and cardiovascular healthy, or you're less efficient. This one's pretty straightforward. So you can, it's an indication of cardiovascular fitness, overall capacity, cardiovascular health. So that's another thing that's cool with some of our gadgets. Now they get pretty reliable results. They're close to how we used to measure it before, like this girl's demonstrating here. High intensity interval training, regular aerobic exercise, getting that heart rate up for a short period of time. And something that I didn't put on here, I don't know if you guys have heard of exercise snacks. What do we hear? I don't have time to exercise, right? We hear that all the time. These are exercise snacks, 2 to 5 minutes, very high intensity exercise, has a lot of cardiovascular benefits. Everybody has 2 to 5 minutes, you know, check your use on your phone and. Check yourself. Okay. All right. VO2 max, 45 for men, 38 for women. Measurements, equation, VO2 test, the equation, heart rate variability equation is right there. So assuming, you know, you did some form of exercise in the last 2 weeks, take your resting heart rate. It will probably be lowest at some height point during the night, and then you times that by 50.3. So max heart rate reached in the last 2 weeks, assuming you've done some intense exercise and you can figure out what your, I said heart rate variability, but it's your VO2 max, okay? And then your resting heart rate, and then times that by 15.3. And if you're above that, that's good. Okay. Also, you know, getting personalized with your own playbook for success. So personalized nutrition plans. Not everybody likes the same, you know, food from Nutrisystem or whatever it might be. Figuring out what foods that you like. And less processed foods like Jyoti was talking about. Refiguring how to eat compared to the American standard diet, right? Exercise 8 for 90 minutes for zone 2 cardio. Another quick thing you can look up with your age and sex and everything else. So one sprint session a week, getting your heart rate up really fast and also using some fast twitch muscles. Unless your doctor says don't do it. 5-minute walks after meals to aid digestion and stabilize blood glucose. So these are things you could put in your playbook, and if you hit these, 90% of the time, 80% of the time, well, that's better than you were doing before. Strength training and body weight exercises build muscle and enhance metabolism. So, I mean, you can do body weight squats, get down and do push-ups, and get down and do crunches. You don't need to go to a gym because it takes you 90 minutes, okay? Just do that until you're tired and then flip over and do crunches, something, Okay. Oh, I like this one. Boundaries, I kind of hinted to that before, stress management and avoiding burnout. Jyoti covered that mostly, but boundaries. Patients call and leave messages at 1 AM. Am I gonna answer the phone? No, I'm gonna call you in the we'll call you in the morning, right? Setting up boundaries, that also you can say, hey, this is my family time. There's no screen time going on. I don't even have my phone during that time, whatever it might be, right? Fill your cup. So do those things you enjoy, foster those activities that you like so that you can continue to go back, recover, overreach again, because I know you all will. We do it all the time, right? We keep working. Okay, slow down to speed up, all those kind of phrases. Spiritual, emotional well-being, very important. So some of these are data-driven insights that we really look for, vital signs, lab results, efficiencies, VO2 max, sleep studies, all those kind of things kind of help us piece together, well, what's going wrong with my patient, and is their primary complaint of headaches or they can't sleep somewhere in one of these things? Or is it just their behavior? They're just so stressed out, they just don't sleep. Habit integration and SMART goals, we already covered that. Sticking to your plan, what your personalized playbook looks like. 5-minute walks. So preparing to recharge. I mean, it's only Tuesday, we got a few more days of work. So if you can start to plan these things, you might want to do it this week, right? No work after 6 or whatever it might be, no text messages, nothing that requires your brain to stress about anything, okay, after a certain time. But have it be done at least 3 hours before bedtime. And also done with any caloric intake. Let's say you go to bed at 10, 3 hours before bedtime. There's a whole melanin discussion in there, melatonin and all those other things discussion in there. So not melanin, melatonin. No screen time after 8 PM. Just to kind of get your brain ready to be down, and read for 15 to 30 minutes. Those sort of things can help. You can make these plans in your playbook, right? Relationships, connecting with friends, family after a certain time as well. Right? That's it for me. Okay. All right. And we got a raffle back there for a reason.
We'll bring the bucket around at the end.
Okay.
Draw a name. Business card in.
I do that, Brett, because I brought a water bottle to raffle off. See now. So I hope everybody enjoyed the Olympics. I sure did. I think everybody sort of took away the interest in sort of things that were really in the media. Like half of which were athletic and half of which were like social. But I hope people focus on some of the athletics. I'm a big LeBron James fan. Hopefully everybody recognized LeBron. Nobody confuses the two of us on the street. I'm fairly tall, I'm not that tall. And like, I never get, "Are you LeBron James?" Never happens. But in bed, we are nearly identical. In my time here, is gonna be in and around the bed, and that's what we're focusing on today, because since I've been a kid, sleep has been my superpower. I would fall asleep in the hallway going back to my bedroom. Never make it to the bed, just through the night in the hallway. My brothers and sisters would like step over me. Anywhere, anytime, pretty much any duration that I had available, I put my superpower into action. And science is now sort of backing me up that sleep really is sort of a superpower with what it can do for us and our health. And as I mentioned in my bio, I did a fellowship in sports medicine, so I have a terrible habit of using sports for sort of all health analogies. So a couple of my favorite athletes are on here. This is an old slide that I've used historically. So LeBron is on there. And I'm not kidding. I can do 12 hours as well. Not every night like he does it, but many nights. Roger Federer is another one of my favorite athletes. I was both of them sort of inspired by their longevity. And he's also in that 10 to 12 hour range. And then Venus Williams, because I've seen her play and she was very impressive, even though her sister gets all the headlines. Also about 9 hours. And although I tend to use athletes for all my analogies, I took the time to find some business people out there, and it turns out it's a lot harder to find data like this on business people. But it exists. So Warren Buffett, 8 hours, Bill Gates, 7 hours. And then most thought-provoking to me was the whole average was brought down by Tiger Woods. And I don't know if anybody's a golf fan here, but Tiger Woods, we found out what he was doing when he was not asleep. And it did not play out well for his career. Donald Trump, another business person, 3 hours a night claimed regular sleep. And so I put Tiger Woods and Donald Trump together, and I thought that was an interesting, thought-provoking, what happens if you don't sleep enough? What should you do? And again, I'm also trying to be very sort of straight and basic here. I somewhat disagree with this slide. So we're all in the adult section here, it looks like. So I would extend that to recommending 7 to 12 hours to everybody in this room, everybody online that's watching. That's Bill Gates to LeBron James. And I feel like that's pretty good bookends. Actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm realizing Bill Gates has also had some recent, maybe suboptimal, maybe I should take.
Stop sleeping as much.
It's old death, you got it. So the old Bill Gates to current LeBron James. Why at least 7 hours? Because a lot of people, even 7 hours would be a lot for them, especially again, business people. They're making those, answering that phone at midnight or sending out those emails instead of going to bed. And why 7 hours is minimum is because not all sleep is the same. And if you're routinely cutting off one end of your sleep cycle, you're fighting your circadian rhythm by going to bed late or trying to be that good person who gets up at 4 a.m. and goes to the gym for 2 hours. There's a reason why we have a circadian rhythm and why we should respect that. Early night when you first go to sleep is when you're rebuilding your body. So that's where most people have a concentration of their deep sleep. And so on this, that's the lowest, darkest blue bar. We need that again to physically repair our body. And then we do most of our memory solidification, our remembering those things that we learned that day at that cool talk that you went to at the chamber. That's going to happen mostly right before you wake up. So that's where our REM sleep is concentrated while you're doing that brain repair, memory solidification. So I hear people sometimes bragging about the wrong things to me when they come into the office and like, oh no, every morning at 3 a.m. I get up and do an hour before going to work. I'm like, ooh. It's a rough trade-off. Why at least 7 hours is continuing? It's not just to get all the forms of sleep so you can repair your body, repair your brain. if you're not, and the one I'm gonna concentrate on this kind of busy slide is that 48-hour partial circle one. If you're regularly not sleeping for at least 7 hours, you're functioning at the capacity of someone who's been awake for 48 hours. Your cognitive ability, your decision-making ability is poor. And I think about this with the advent of adult ADHD that has skyrocketed in the last decade. And I think is sleep an underlying root cause of so many people's difficulty to focus and concentrate. That is my own personal thought process, no research on that one, but to see that level of cognitive dysfunction is, again, just blows my mind. Not sleeping will make you sick. I love how perfect this graph is. Again, I'm not picking the 7 to 12 hours as a random. You get into the lowest segment by getting that greater than 7 hours. And it just skyrockets. It's more than double if you're getting that under 5 hours mark. So if you're Tiger Woods or Donald Trump, hopefully you've got a good medical provider in your corner. And then how do you engage your superpower? If you can't sleep, it's figuring out why, trying to get to a root cause of it. And a lot of that can be lifestyle, a lot of that can be health history, you know, undiagnosed sleep apnea. Is that a physical anatomical obstruction going on? Or is it something where your thyroid's overactive or your cortisol levels aren't normal? And if you don't sleep, and those are really, I'm picking those words very carefully between can't and don't. If you don't sleep, it's considering changing your priorities. And my push would be that if you're willing to change your priorities, you might get to that, and I can't go back to the first slide, that gold medal performance like LeBron James. The other categories are things we focus on at Empowered Health. We use the precision medicine model. I'm not going to go into those in detail, and I'm going to sort of more leave those as a potpourri if people have questions on individual ones when we get to that section. We'll have time for that.
Taking notes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my name is Melanie Olson, and let's take a second. We've had a lot of really great information, so I just want to take a second and have you take a nice, big, deep breath with me so that we can get recentered. So I'm going to count. We're going to go in 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3. So one more time, so we can get centered. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2. I love doing that before I talk because it kind of energizes my brain for all the physiological reasons that we talk about. Oxygen is really important, right? One of the things that I'm so glad that I was invited here to speak on this panel is, number one, I learned a whole bunch, but number two, everything that they said really resonated with me and some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So you're going to hear maybe some repetition, some of the points that these fine doctors have given. I'm not a doctor, I'm a licensed mental health counselor. And now I'm the director of a program that assists kids who have dropped out of school or haven't moved on to post-secondary education, who have some struggles and challenges, and they choose to pursue their GED and work readiness. And so it's a very different world than when I was in just 3 years ago. I come from an environment of high stress. I worked at a behavioral health organization as a director. And during that time there, I also worked in the jail as a mental health professional and got to see a whole lot of really, really interesting things. Very, very high stress type of job where you're managing things that can mean life or death, just like the doctors here do. So there's a large amount of stress. And as I moved up into leadership, that stress really took a toll on me. And so the things that I want to talk about today on maintaining life and work balance and how do we achieve that are practical things that actually have been life-changing for me that I have done and know that work. So this has happened just over the past 3 years. So we're going to be talking a little bit about setting boundaries, which you have heard quite a bit in these talks. Maintaining your own personal identity. And then we're going to talk a little bit about who you surround yourself with in the workplace. Hiring hiring people who have the same set of values that you do, so that you can have less stress in your life when you're away from work and you have trust in the workplace and you have better teams. So I am not going to read all of this stuff. I trust that everybody here can read. But I will just, since you have the slides, go over the topics here. So there's real huge importance in setting boundaries. And that's why I just really loved listening to what everybody had to say to talk about that. And when we talk about setting boundaries, one of the things that I have learned is that, there are times in the day where I am a much better performer than I am at other times during the day. And what I recognized about myself is that I suck before 8:30 in the morning. And so I need to have time to come into my office, set my stuff down, and get prepared for the rest of the day, get myself mentally ready. And if I take that time in the morning to gather myself and get focused, then I know that I'm going to perform much better. So I typically do not take meetings prior to 8:30 in the morning, unless my boss right back there, who is an early bird, schedules those appointments with me. And actually, I really look forward to those meetings too, because it kind of helps freshen me. So one of the things that I learned when I moved into this new position is that I have control over my schedule. And if people are making a lot of demands of me that are not reasonable and they're expecting me to be a high performer at 7:30 in the morning, they're going to be sadly disappointed. So taking care of those boundaries and setting those boundaries will help reduce stress and anxiety in your life. It will set you up and prepare you for having a better day and maximum performance throughout time. Setting boundaries can also be the things that we talked about, not taking any messages or phone calls after 7 p.m. Stop working when you get home at night. I know that that doesn't sound practical for everybody, but the truth is, if you're challenging those irrational beliefs that the world is going to stop if you don't answer that email, you're going to find it a lot easier to set the phone down and walk away from it. One of the things that I do, and I've talked to my staff about this before, is if I need to tell them something, oftentimes when I'm in my car, it's the only time I have a moment of privacy where I'm able to have a conversation with somebody. If I'm driving home and it's 5 o'clock and I have an employee that works at 4 o'clock, she's my right-hand person, I will directly tell her on the phone, I'm driving. I don't expect you to answer the phone. I don't expect a phone call back, but I'm having this thought and need to get it out of my head. So you have a message and she knows that. We have a shared agreement about when I'm going to be calling her and talking to her about work, so that it's not intrusive into her life. And then she has the same shared agreement with me. She's not going to be calling me on a Saturday to talk to me about something, and I won't return that message until Monday, and people just know that about me. And that has really led to much healthier boundaries in my own world. It also helps to improve the relationships that you have. There is nothing more annoying than sitting down to dinner and your phone is blowing up, and it's about stuff that doesn't have to be solved right this minute. Why are you emailing me about, something that really can't be handled after 7 p.m.? So I don't need to answer that after 7 p.m. It's not going to be handled till the next morning. That person who deals with that issue isn't going to be in until 8 o'clock. I don't need to answer that email or that phone call or that text. So really drawing those clear boundaries and making people understand. Those are the boundaries that you have set for yourself. Prioritizing tasks and defining your personal values are really important. When I took this job, I spoke with my staff, both as a group and individually, sat down with each one of them and said, these are my expectations, and this is what I'm going to do for you. These are the boundaries that I'm setting for myself in my own personal life, and I'm not going to step on those for you. And also saying no to unreasonable requests. Anybody here ever have a boss that just made the most ridiculous requests? Now, I remember flying to Iowa when my dad was dying and my phone blowing up the whole way there. the whole time I was there and on the way back, asking me to do things and respond to emails and take care of stuff that wasn't life critical when my father was dying. And I didn't feel like I had permission not to answer those phone calls or to respond to them because of the high level of work that I was doing at that time. But the truth is, had I really challenged the belief that life was going to end for me, not just my family member, but for me, if I didn't answer them, I would have probably recognized better that it wasn't critical or crucial for me to take that call at that point in my life. And I could have been more present for my family when they needed me the most. So setting those boundaries by challenging unreasonable requests and, you know, making sure that you set those boundaries with your staff and with the people around you, and even sometimes your business partners, partnerships in the community, and just, they don't need to know that you're setting those boundaries because you suck before 8:30 in the morning, but they do need to know that you're not available at that time. So when we do that, we prioritize. I always forget that I have these slides, sorry. So we're able to prioritize our tasks and manage our time much better. It prevents burnout, and you have much better work-life balance. And like I said, you know, set specific times for meetings. 8:30 in the morning, if somebody needs to call me till 6 o'clock at night, I'm fine with that, but after that, I'm probably not going to answer the phone. And be rigid as possible, but understand that there's going to be times when you have to make exceptions. Just make sure that you always understand what those exceptions are and why you're doing them, and that you're okay with that. And build in time for breaks. Always, always, always take your lunch. Always take those couple of minutes that you need. I love the idea of going outside and getting some sunshine. When I need to have a couple of minutes, I think the most regenerating thing I do at work is walk outside, stand in the sun, and take in a couple of deep breaths and really walk away from all the stress that's going on in the building. But as you know, there are some common challenges, and there are unsupportive colleagues and family members who make you feel guilty about wanting to take that time for yourself. But remember, you're in control of your own emotions. You don't have to feel guilty. Feeling guilty is a choice that you make of your own. So just make sure that you're challenging that and those irrational beliefs. The all or nothing thoughts too, and the catastrophic thinking are two things that can get in your way. If I don't do this, my business is going to crumble. That's not true, typically, right? If I don't do this, I'm going to lose my relationships, my partnership's going to fall apart. Most people are pretty reasonable and understand that you do have to set those clear boundaries. So we know that the impact of setting those boundaries is reducing stress, enhancing productivity, and improving your work-life balance. The other thing I think is super important, this is something that I got lost in, is maintaining my personal identity. When I worked for the behavioral health organization, that was everything. It was who I was. I couldn't go out into the community without being really recognized as that person who had the questions answered for outpatient services. If I went out to a bar with my husband, if I had a cocktail in my hand, I always felt like I was under scrutiny because I'm a licensed substance use disorder professional. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a licensed alcoholic, but I did deal with and have those programs. But I really felt like I couldn't have or enjoy a glass of wine with my meal because of who I was in my work. And so when I shed that from my life, it increased my enjoyment when I was able to go out and do social things. And I love what you said about getting energy from those social interactions. I'm super extroverted and I love people until I don't. So, so I need to have those interactions, and I want to feel comfortable in my own skin and be able to enjoy myself when I'm out. And so for me, just developing a sense of who I was that isn't just about the work that I do, because really that does not define who I am. What defines who I am are my set of values and how I live in this world and how I contribute back to the community. Have hobbies, set personal goals about how you stay motivated and focused, and maintain that personal identity. And again, you'll have improved emotional well-being, enhanced creativity, and boosted performance. Sorry, I'm talking so fast. It's a lot of information. This is my favorite topic because I'll tell you what, I learned this in the last 3 years for the organization that I work with. The one thing that I was taught when I was working in behavioral health, everything was based on credentials and skill set and work history. And so when I hired people, I would look at their resume and I would determine whether or not I thought that person was a good fit for our team based on whether or not they had the skill set to provide those services in the work setting. The truth is, that is not what makes a good employee. So I was taught about hungry, humble, and smart, and those questions really get at the core of the type of people that are interviewing for your position. You can teach people to do just about anything. I mean, it's important to have the credentials, you have that educational background that you need, and it's required. But the truth is, I can't teach value and character. And since I've done that, my team is unbelievably functional. They love each other. When I walk into the building, they're always laughing. They get along. There's very, very few disagreements in the building. Most of the time, it's a very, very joyful environment. And that's because when we hired, all of the people that were hired here since I've been there have been based on hungry, humble, and smart, and have the characteristics of people I want to have surrounding me. I know that when I walk out of the building that my right-hand person, Amy, can answer any question and will answer it the way that I will answer it because we have shared values and we understand that very clearly. Think about the amount of stress that relieves you, that you do not have to go and follow up every question, every decision that's made when you're not there. So hiring people that have the same value system that you do, who can support your mission or are a natural fit, has reduced the amount of stress in my life, and I am a completely different person, and quite frankly, I am 40 pounds lighter than I was when I was working at this other place. Made a big difference. So here are the benefits: positive work culture, enhanced team performance. I love that. My team is, I think we've seen revenue climb by about 30%, 40%, maybe even. I started out there with a budget of $980,000 in 2021, and we brought in 1.7 million this year. So that's my team, that's not me. They do a great job. So basically, set your boundaries, maintain personal identity, and hire good team members. And I think that would be very useful in helping reduce stress. And before I finish, I wanted to just kind of reiterate, because I think repetition, you all know that is what helps you remember things. The things that I took away from listening to the folks here on this panel is try to go out in the first thing in the morning and get a little bit of sun. That to me probably will be life-changing. I love that. Protect yourself. That's what Joe said. Protect yourself. Health is intentional. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Take a 5-minute walk after your meal. That, to me, it never occurred to me I should go outside and throw the ball for my dog. And that sleep is your superpower. I loved that. Give yourself permission to make your health a priority. Super important, and great takeaway for today. Thanks.
Okay, so we're gonna take some questions. Those of you on Zoom, you can put your questions in the chat. But does anybody have a question for our experts today? Yeah. It's just.
So I wanted, one is just a small comment on those she hires for, her own values, which is very diverse. So it's not equal, the age is not diverse, it's more about the work ethic, which is one of the most diverse teams that our agency. My question was about, the screen time and turning off the light. I read, and I'm reading all on here. It started this year, which has caused me to read 150 books this year. But is that bad at the end of the night of reading? And I thought like having that light on.
Who do you want to
All the way
answer?
up to I don't know, you're all not really.
Yes,
I can't answer that.
yes, it is bad.
Reading and learning.
So it's kind of bad for two reasons, unfortunately, with that. You're activating, so you're learning and enjoying and stimulating. So a lot of people say, oh, take a bed, book or phone and go to bed and read. For most people, that's an active, engaging experience, which is not usually what you want to do when you're trying to shut down, close in, go to sleep. And then to the light.
And so how long before it go, like a half hour or what's the time? Because if you
You're
sleep
not gonna
12
like my
hours,
answer.
I-
It's kind of like eating, it's 2-3 hours. Everybody watches TV right before they go to bed, everybody,
Okay, but what if you use
Less-
like an e-reader with that?
those are less bad, they have less of the light issue. But it doesn't stop, for most people, the stimulation component.
How does one help break the habit of being a night owl? Like my husband never goes to bed before 11 o'clock at night, which drives me crazy. And he has always been that way. And even when he was a child, he said he would sneak out and watch TV until 11 o'clock at night, has never been able to really sleep early enough to get all those hours. How, is that really truly a thing, being a night owl, or?
Yes. It's exceptionally rare. So they did the work on this with people that did shift work. You have day shift, swing shift, night shift, and they had looked at the effect that had on people's health. And there is the unicorn in that group who actually does fine on night shift. 99% of people do terrible, and it's really harmful for their health. But there's a unicorn, and your husband might be that unicorn. I suspect he is.
Probably.
I have a question to piggyback on her question. All the advertising on blue light, where does that come into play in all this?
Like, there's a direct.
Yeah. I think what I've read is just one hour before bed, because it's another visual thing, like a daylight, nighttime thing. It's not good for your circadian rhythm to be, it's a light, but it's not like, it's not the same as the sun, but that's why we want to get out and get early morning sun, so that you can get your circadian rhythm set. But I think don't quote me, but I think it's something to do with that problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any small amount of light, even my kids, I have 2 teenage daughters. And my oldest one put this strip lighting, and as I was doing this research, they do it because it looks cool, and then the other one did it, and I thought, it's so dim, it's not their phone, must be okay. So I had to tell them, this needs to come off, because it just disrupts, you're just disturbed. There's, within your vision, within your eyes, there's cells that are reacting to that light, and it's just disrupted. So the sleep that you're getting just isn't restful. And you're probably the 99% of the people, unless you're a unicorn, like Melanie's husband here. When you wake up in the morning, your body is then producing things like blood glucose that's higher than it would have been had you had a restful sleep. Yeah.
You have 2 sleep drivers, so the main one we've talked about is circadian, but then your other is a homeostatic sleep drive. And so the longer you stay awake, the more neurotransmitter hormones your brain is going to build up to force you to sleep. So at the end of 12 hours, if you decide not to sleep, you could force yourself to stay awake for another 12 hours. And then maybe if you really went after it with caffeine and stimulants, you get another 24 hours. You're ignoring your circadian rhythm, but sooner or later, your homeostatic sleep drive is going to win and put you to sleep. And so a lot of people, when I hear the night owl story, what I'm really hearing is they're ignoring their circadian rhythm, and they're 100% depending on their homeostatic sleep drive for their sleep cues, which is late, right? You've thrown out a whole system, and that's, for most people, other than your husband, problematic long term.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I have read through my research is that you should try to go to bed about the same time every day. You can disrupt your sleep by 1 hour on either side, but then you should try and go back. If it's 9 o'clock, okay, one day maybe you went to bed at 8 or 10. And that's okay, because life just happens. The target should be about the same time every night, so your body can set its rhythm. Like Dr. Monie was saying, the circadian rhythm.
So I've got some autistic adult children who are not, they don't have regular jobs. But they do work later, but along with that autism, we've got, the kid who was night owl from birth. if they're going to bed later but sleeping longer, does that like, so to get up later too, it still is messy for them.
You're still gonna miss a component, so if you get the Aura Ring,
And then I also have them where they won't turn the light off, it's the same.
you'll see that they're usually missing a component of the normal sleep architecture. So that deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep. They're usually missing a whole component, and usually in that case, they're missing the deep sleep, so the physical body repair.
That makes actual sense, but they're needed, yeah.
One thing to really maybe just, ask Dr. Google, melatonin, cortisol cycle. These neurotransmitters we're talking about, when melatonin is produced, where it's produced, if it's the pineal gland or if it's the gut. Most of it, you'd be surprised, is produced by the gut. And cortisol, what do we think of cortisol? Adrenal burnout, adrenal fatigue, stress. So there's a balance between melatonin and cortisol going on too, so gotta get to sleep.
Someone on Zoom mentioned, red light is the, natural, early, morning and late evening. Is that what resets?
The red light.
I guess, yeah, what is the, I guess, the mechanism of light?
Oh, there's these, OPCON, within the eye. And those are the ones that are reacting to the light, to the sunlight. And the way they sort of take that information, because brain is just a big processor of information. So then there's eye receives the light then takes that information to the receptors. And within the brain, if you'd imagine, there's different pathways and highways, and they activate different areas. And then there's those chemicals that make us more alert, more energetic, more focused. And that's how it's reacting. Now, I can definitely do paper research and get all the pathways and get like a more precise answer. But that's generally how it's understood to work. How light, that sunlight, I guess is what I think they're referring to.
They're the ones that mentioned the red light. The question was mine, but I guess, can you talk to the red light at all? Just, I guess,
I would have to.
they were
look
talking about, like using red light bulbs and, to help.
I'd have to look into that. It's not something I came across, but maybe they can email me and I can look into that a little bit more.
Really, any other questions?
So you're looking at everything by a child. Does that, do you have to restart, or every night, usually around 4, and then wait? Is that, what is that doing? Like, am I restarting?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I did not understand the question.
I have a child that's every night. So every night at 4, I'm getting up, like, do I have to restart? I sleep, like, I fall back to sleep after, but how is that affecting the cycle?
Most people can tolerate 2 to 3 awakenings a night. And still get restorative sleep. So for most people, that research was done on men and it was going to the bathroom. With an enlarging prostate, so that's after age 30, 2 to 3 times a night, still okay as long as it's not disrupting the sleep cycle. So it depends a little bit on you too, whether or not you're able to go back into sleep right away or not. A lot of people, they pretty much sleepwalk, whatever that event is, middle of the night. It's okay.
I get amazing sleep. It's like my superpower as well. But I do have a team member who does not, and he's tried everything and done a sleep study. What would you recommend for me to, help? Yeah.
If somebody's done everything, they've done everything. Although usually when somebody says that to me, as they start to describe their sleep cycle and their daily habits, it's often like glaring lights, they're the person who exercises from 8 to 9 p.m. and then tries to go to bed at 10 and doesn't understand why they're revved up. Or they eat right before they go to bed. Or they've got something like, I have a lot of people whose bed partners are very disruptive to their sleep. I've told a lot of people, do the 19 how far back, right, fifties, separate bedrooms. And people who have this like emotional struggle with that, and I'm like, I think we'll both sleep better. So looking at some of those things that maybe people don't necessarily want to talk about, but plan to it.
Thank you.
And then alcohol, that's the other one. No one wants to talk about. I love, the HRV measurement, the heart rate variability. You can have someone who's tracking with great heart rate variability, give them one alcoholic beverage. And that night, even though they'll wake up and say they slept fine, their heart rate variability will be trashed. It's very interesting how little it takes to disrupt our restorative sleep.
I have one other question about something I saw on your slides, which was advanced functional testing. What is that process?
So we do advanced functional testing can be if you're coming in and you're not sleeping well because and it might be your cortisol. So we'll do a salivary cortisol testing where we'll track cortisol awakening response through a series of saliva tests through the morning. As an example.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you guys. They took away tons from each of you, which is awesome. So let's thank our experts today for donating their time and expertise. Find will be emailed to you and the video will be placed on YouTube as well. We'd also like to again thank STCU for sponsoring the experts and making it free to participate. There's gonna go around the bucket one last time. To put your business card in the bucket. Get that or ring or the water bottle.
I want to know what the flavor is.
Yeah,
You described it in a way that was not necessarily a way that I understood.
Have you ever been to a taco stand before?
Yes.
And then there's like 3 drinks and one of them is horchata. It's the cream milky one with rice.
I have horchata as my recovery drink from exercise.
Yeah, so that was the protein bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please come ahead if you would like sandwiches.
Do you have the?
I do actually, they're over here. I actually want to give them, like, show it to you guys. I had people with, like, just approve it for the most part. Pretty high on fats, but all the ingredients come from natural ingredients. Yeah, cool.
Work out.
Okay, we gotta draw some names and wrap this up. We're over time.
Thank you. Definitely go, a sample in the back. All right, we're gonna do the water bottle first. And that is Kendra, Kahlon. Okay, then we're gonna do the or ring next.
And there's a hat back there too. More saying.
We have Polly. All right. Who wants to do? Oh, the hat as well, the hat as well. We got Sarah Allen. All right, thank you, Remedy and Empowered Health for the items. And again, STCU for sponsoring, the Chamber for hosting us, and you all for attending. Thank you. Have a good day, you guys.